Hello everyone. If you're watching this, I am making this video for you to be able to have a proper preparation for your final exam. I'm going to start with where you're going to get the file that I'm going to use for this video from, and I'm going to share my screen. You have to go to the Blackboard, and on Blackboard, you have to go to course document. When you click on course document, then you look for final exam practice. It is an Excel file, and that is what I'm going to use for this presentation. The next thing I'm going to share with you will be the file. I've prepared this for you to have an idea of what your exam questions will look like. And as you can see on this workbook, we have 3 different worksheets. The first one has the instructions. The second one has the subtotal VLOOKUP pivot questions. And the third one has financial function. All of these topics we've covered already. However, these are questions tailored towards specific specific worksheet. All right, I'm just going to make this bigger. So I hope everyone can see. So what this means is whatever instruction I have below the sub VLOOKUP and pivot should be applied to this worksheet. So this is the name of the worksheet, and these are the instructions that should be applied to the worksheet. This is the name of another worksheet, and these are the names or the instructions to be applied on that specific worksheet. I hope this is clear. So we're going to start with the sub VLOOKUP and pivot worksheet. The first instructions there says, ensure the column titles stay on the screen when scrolling down. So we've done this, and it is known as freezing panes. So you go to VLOOKUP. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to try to scroll down and see. So we can see this, we've lost like the heading. So, and we want to make sure the heading stays while we scroll down. So all we have to do is you have to first determine the row that you want to freeze. In this case, we want to freeze row 5. We want to freeze row 5. So we have to place our cursor on row 6 and look for View tab. We have to look for View tab, and we have to look for Freeze Panes. You click on it, and you click on Freeze Panes. Now let us check if it's done. You scroll down and you will realize that the headings now is stable. You see, you can see the heading while you scroll down, which is what the first instruction is about. So I'm just going to move this. I've got something that is obstructing my screen. I'm just going to move it to the bottom here. So I guess this is better this way. Yeah. So the next instruction is create sum and average subtotals on amount owed by grouping the department. So you must understand this. This is saying we must group the department. So we have heading that is known as department, and we want to sum the amount owed as well as get the average of the amount owed. That is what that question means. So let's go to sub VLOOKUP and pivot. So the first thing this says is we should group department. And how do we do that? We go to Data tab and we go to Sort. So you have a dialog box where you have the sort, and it's going to say sort by. So we want to sort by department because that's what the question says. We sort by department. And the order, if you do A to Z, it's good. It's going to give you maybe A, B, D, L. The reason being, if you look at department, we have bedroom, living room, appliances, and dining room, right? So if you leave it as A to Z, it's going to put the A first, A, B, that is A for appliances, B for bedroom, D for dining, then L for the living room. And you can also customize this. And how do you do that? You just have to click on this and click on custom list. So for the custom list, you must type, because this is not my first time doing this, and I have it here as my custom list. The moment you type your list entries, it's going to be added to your custom lists. So if it's your first time, you have to type in bedroom, living room, appliances, and dining room in any order of your choice. And you click OK, and now you can see the order has changed to bedroom, living room, appliances, and dining room. When you click OK, I want you to see the changes that we have here. So now this data is grouped by departments. So you have bedroom, you have living room, you have appliances, and you have dining room based on the custom list that we have created. So the next thing that the question says is we should sum the amount owed. So we'll go to subtotal. And when you click on subtotal, it's going to by default pick the first heading. And remember, we have not grouped transaction number. We have only grouped department. So you have to change the first thing there to department. So you can say use function sum. If you want to do sum first, it's good. If you want to do the average first, it's good. Use function, but you cannot do sum and average at the same time. So we're going to do sum first. We're going to click just on amount owed. That's what we want to know about each department. And we're going to leave these boxes checked, the first and the third one. Then you click OK. So I'm going to show you on the left-hand side, you're going to see 1, 2, 3. The first one is showing the grand total for the amount owed. The second one is showing us the sum, right? So now we have the sum for bedroom, we have the sum for living room, we have the sum for appliances, we have the sum for dining room, which makes up the grand total. And the third one is just our data. So for us to be able to add the average subtotal, we have to go to subtotal again. By now, Excel understands that you want to look at department, but the function is going to change from sum to average. You have to change it from sum to average. And we still want to know the average of the amount owed. But here it says replace current subtotals. No, we want the sum subtotal to be there, and we want to include the average subtotal. So all you have to do is to uncheck this box. When you uncheck this box and click OK, it's going to leave the sum total as well as the average total. I hope you can see it. So we have bedroom average and bedroom total. And how can you check that? You go to the first one where you're going to see the grand average and the grand total. The second one, you're going to see the different departments and the total. The third one, you're going to see different departments, their sum as well as the average. So I hope you can see this. And lastly, we have our data. So that is it done. The next instruction says create a pivot table to the right of the data that will summarize the amount owed. You want to summarize the amount owed, or you want to create a pivot table. So the first thing we have to look at is how do we create a pivot table? So you go here. Now I want to take out, if you want to remove the subtotal, then you go to subtotal and say remove all, and everything is back to normal. So what you can do is you have to first make this a table. If you don't make this a table, then it's going to be difficult for you to create your pivot table, right? So here you can click on this, go to insert and do recommended pivot table. And it's going to ask you by highlighting where your table range is. As you can see the green borderline there is highlighting where you have your table range. So you have to look at the recommended pivot table and look for the one that has different departments. So we'll see the third one has got bedroom, living room, appliances, and dining room. This looks more useful. You click on it and you click OK. The moment you do that, you're going to have your pivot table here. You will notice this is a new worksheet, and we want it just by the right-hand side of our data. So the first thing you have to do is we want the sum of amount owed. We don't want the sum of down payment. So for the values, you take back, just drag and drop the sum of amount owed and whatever information that you have there. So you go back and copy this. You can copy this table. All you have to do is just highlight it, right click and click copy. Then you go back to the data, and on the right hand side, you can click on a box there and press Ctrl V or right click and paste. So now we have the pivot table here. So this is our pivot table. This is our pivot table. I'm just trying to expand the column. Yeah. So this is our pivot table. So you get 10 marks for pivot table if that is the grade that is expected for that question. So create a slicer. The next thing is create a slicer for the departments. Create a slicer for the departments. One thing I wanted to know is a slicer is a tool that is used to filter pivot table. And I'm going to show you how. A slicer is a tool that is used to filter pivot table. So we go back to our data. And here you have to click on the pivot table. Then you're going to have pivot table analyze. If you click out of the box, you see that tab is going to disappear. But if you click within the table, then you're going to have pivot table analyze. So you have to click on pivot table analyze, then you're going to be able to insert slicer. You click on insert slicer, and as you can see, it is a filtering tool. So you click on that, and here from the question, it says insert slicer for department. So you have to click on department and click OK. So now we have our slicer, and I'm going to show you how the slicer works. So this is our slicer. Let's assume we do not need information about, say, dining room and appliances. We only want to check the sum of money hold in maybe bedroom and living room. All we have to do is we are going to click on the two that we have. So you hold your control button and click on bedroom and living room. You can click this out. You have to click on bedroom, hold on the control key, and living room. So if you look at our pivot table, we have information about bedroom and living room. We have information about bedroom and living room. So if you want to get information about maybe just living room, then you have to go and say, okay, all I need is just the living room. Just click on living room and you get information on living room. That is the work of a slicer. A slicer is a filtering tool, and it helps to filter pivot table. The next instruction says create formatting that will automatically highlight amount owed greater than 5,000. Amount owed greater than 5,000. So we go back to the data, and this is where we have our amount owed. We have to click on that column. So it is column K. You have to click on column K. The moment you click on column K, you're going to have conditional formatting at the top here. It's under Home tab, conditional formatting. So you click on conditional formatting, and the first thing there says highlight cells rows, and that is what we want to do. So you go on there and you click on greater than. So the amount given is 5,000. Depending on the color, you can change it to light red or green. So my favorite color is green, so I'm just going to click on green and okay. So now the amount owed that is greater than 5,000 is going to change to green. The box is going to change to green, which makes the data easily readable. Conditional formatting. The next thing here, it says create the functions in cells O7. So when you see O7, it means column O, row 7, and column O, row 8. That will automatically produce the correct information for the transaction number 2021018. So now we have a transaction number. Maybe there is an issue with a transaction number. We want to know the representative, the sales representative that is in charge of that transaction number. So the first thing you can do, you can copy the transaction number. So you have to go to the formula bar to copy it. Then you go here and look for, this is row 7, and this is column O. So this is 07. So for 07, we're going to input the transaction number, and we can label it transaction number, right? And here we want to know the sales representative that is in charge of this transaction number. How can we do that? We have to use the VLOOKUP function. We've had lessons on VLOOKUP function, and for some reason, most of you did not get the VLOOKUP function right in your mid-semester exam. So that's why I'm repeating this question in your final exam. So all you have to do is you have to go to formulas to go and look for the VLOOKUP function. You go to formulas and you're going to see lookup and reference. You click on lookup and reference and scroll down to look for VLOOKUP. The moment you click on VLOOKUP, you're going to have a dialog box. And that dialog box is asking you, what is the lookup value? The lookup value is the transaction number, because that is what you want to look up. This transaction number is your lookup value, and it's going to ask, in what table array? So the table array is, this is where we have the transaction number. This is where we have the sales first name. So you have to pick the columns there. So for transaction number, date, and sales first. So that's the table array. Then the column index. The column index here is asking you, how many columns do you have? That's just a simple way to put it. How many columns do you have? So we have transaction number, date, and sales first. That's 3. So you put 3. And for the range lookup, so he's saying, do you want the exact? If you want the exact match, if you want the close match, you can leave it blank. But if you want the exact match, you want to know the exact name of that person, then you can type in false. The moment you type in false, you click OK. And here is going to give us Sebastian. So this VLOOKUP formula has given us Sebastian, saying Sebastian is the sales representative in charge of the transaction number 2021-018. Let's go check that out. So we have the transaction number. Let us look for 018. 2021-018. So it is here. So 2021-018 is Sebastian. The sales first name is Sebastian. So I hope that's clear. So that is it for the worksheet, sub, VLOOKUP, and pivot. So now we're going to move to financial function. The financial function instruction, the first instruction there says, use goal-seek to find the interest rate that will result in total payment of negative 900,000. So we have to go to financial function, and we have bank loan, we have interest, we have years, we have payments by year, we have monthly payment, we also have total payment here. So the goal-seek is to get the interest rate that is going to be applicable when you have the total payment of negative 900,000. Please note, when you see figures like this that are in parentheses, then shows negative. I know most of you are taking accounting and finance, and you know accountants don't add the negative signage. They just put it in parentheses and change the color to red for you to know that you're in deficit. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to data. And what we are going to do is an example of what if analysis. What if analysis. So you go under what if and you look for goal seek. So now, because we are on total payment, it's showing C8. So the set cell is C8. And we want our C8 to change to what value? Negative 900,000. You have to type it in. Negative 900,000. And they said by changing what cell? We want to know the interest rate. So it is the interest rate that we want to change for us to be able to achieve negative 900,000 as a total payment. So when you click on that and you click OK, you see it has changed. So now for you to have a total payment of negative 900,000, the interest rate must be 6.58%. I hope that's clear. I'm going to do it again. So here you have your total payment, and you want to know the value of interest that is going to make you pay up to 900,000. So you go to what if analysis, you click on goal seek, and the total payment is what you want to change, and you want to change it to negative 900,000. You have to type it in by changing the interest rate. So you click OK, and it's going to change that for you to have a total payment of 900,000, then it must be for interest 6.58, one interest rate of 6.58. I hope this is clear. I'm just going to click OK, so we leave it as it is, and we continue with our questions. The next instruction there says create a payment schedule that will list each of the monthly payments. So you want to create a payment schedule. So we go to financial function. Before you be able to create a payment schedule, you have to first determine the periodic rate and also the number of payments. How do you determine periodic rate? Periodic rate is the interest rate that you pay on a monthly basis. Remember, the payments per year is 12, which means you have 12 months in a year. Periodic rate is going to be this interest rate, which is equal to interest rate divided by the number of months for you to determine how much interest rate you'll be paying each month. So when you click OK, you're going to get 0.005479. And what you can do is change this to percentage. You go to Home and you click on percentage. When you click on percentage, it's going to give you approximately 1. But I don't want to see approximately 1. I want it with decimal. So you have to increase decimal. So I'm going to increase decimal maybe to 3 places. So if you have to increase decimal, this is where you increase decimal. If you have to decrease decimal, that is where you decrease decimal. So number of payments. Number of payments is going to be the years that you're going to use to pay your mortgage, as well as the number of payments that you have per year, which is equal to the years multiplied by the payments per year. So you have 240. It means you're going to pay the 500,000 loan for 240 months. That's what that means. So now we have a payment number 1 to 240. So we have 1, we have 2. So for these 2, I'm just going to change the font to 12, just for uniformity's sake. And I'm going to highlight 1 and 2, just for Excel to know that I want the number to increase in the boxes. So I'm just going to drag down and stop when I get to 240. Just drag it down. You have to highlight 1 and 2 and drag down to get 240. Because we have 240 months. So now we have 240 months. The next thing we're going to figure out is the beginning balance. Our beginning balance is the amount of the loan. So we have to say it's equal to C3, and we click enter. And we have 500,000. Interest payment. We have to go and use a formula for interest payment. So you have to go to formulas, and under formulas, you go to financial and look for IPMT. I is for interest, PMT is for payment. IPMT. So the IPMT is going to give you like a dialog box. And for that dialog box, you have to figure out what is the rate. The rate is not the annual rate, it's going to be the periodic rate. So you have to choose the periodic rate. And when you choose the periodic rate, you have to make it absolute. And how do you make it absolute? You have to add a $sign in between the column and the row number, the column and row number. So the PAR is the period for which you want to find the interest rate. So we have period 1 here. We have period 1. You don't have to make it absolute because it's going to change period by period. The end PAR is the total number of payment period in an investment. And here, the number of payments period is 240 months. So you have to go and click on that and also make it absolute. Present value. So the present value is the loan, the value of the loan. But when you want to record the value of a loan, you have to record it as deficit. So it's going to be negative 500,000, which is in C3, negative 500,000. You also have to make this absolute. Then you click OK. For some reason, my laptop is malfunctioning. That's why you have pound sterling. So for your laptop, you should have $sign. I'm going to change it to $sign, but I'm going to first get the formula for principal repayment. So for principal repayment, you have to go to formulas, financial. So principal repayment is going to be PPMT. The P is for principal and the PMT is for payment. Principal payment, so PPMT. You're going to have a dialog box, just like you had in the IPMT, and the rate still be periodic rate. You have to also make this absolute. The PAR is period 1. The end PAR is the total number of payment period, which is 240 months. You make that absolute. And the present value is the amount of the loan. And you have to record it as deficit because you're owing that, and also make it absolute. You click OK. So all I want to do is I want to change this to $sign. So I'll go to Home and Currency and change it to $sign. So the ending balance is equal to the beginning balance minus your principal repayment. Beginning balance minus principal repayment. And you click OK. Period 2 beginning balance is always period 1 ending balance. Period 2 beginning balance is equal to period 1 ending balance, always. Okay, so all we have to do is we want to copy formulas. So you have to copy the formula from 2 here and just copy up to 240. You will notice nothing is there. The reason why you have nothing here is because the formulas here, they are functions of the ending balance. So I'm going to show you how this is going to change as soon as you copy the formulas for the ending balance. So for interest, you have to copy this to 240. So all we've done is copy formula to 240 months. Then we go to principal payment, copy this to 240 months. Up to 240 months. Then lastly, you copy the ending balance. You copy the ending balance up to 240 months. The moment you copy the ending balance, you will notice that the beginning balance is going to change. As you can see, so now we have this filled in, and at the end of the day, you have nothing to pay back. The moment you have maybe $2 or $3,000 or $20 here, then you know something is wrong with your formulas. Another way to check whether this is accurate is for you to check the total number of your principal payment. Your principal payment must be equal to the amount of loan that you taken from the bank. So you can click on this box and go and click on auto sum. So when you click on auto sum, you just have to press enter and it's going to be 500,000. Remember, the amount of the loan is what? 500,000. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. So now we've created a payment schedule. The next thing we have to do is to apply range names and create best and worst case for the investment. But the first thing we have to do is to apply range names. So we'll go to financial function. For you to apply range names, it's just to change all these to names instead of just figures. So instead of having C3, C4, C5, you have to change them to bank loan, interest, and years. So how do you do that? You just use the name box here. One rule for the name box is you do not use line spacer. Do not space whatever you type there. So for here, we have to do bank loan and click OK. You can see I'm writing my bank loan together for you to accept it. The next one, you have to change it to interest and you click enter. Yes, you have to put yes and enter. And monthly payment. So we have monthly payment. So I'm just going to type that as monthly pay, click OK. And we have total payment, total pay. So how do you know whether you've done your range names correctly? You have to go to formulas and you're going to see name manager. Just click on name manager and you see what you've done. So you have bank loan, interest, you have monthly pay, you have total pay and years. If you do not do this, then your best case and worst case scenario that you're going to create is going to stress you out because it's not going to have labels. Okay. So let's go back to the instructions. it says create best and worst case for the investment. So when you have an investment, the first thing you can ask yourself, what's the best thing that can happen? The best thing that can happen when you have mortgages for your interest to drop, right? Lower interest rate is good for mortgage. And the worst thing that can happen is for interest rate to go up. It means the amount you're going to pay back on that loan is going to increase. So you go to data. This is an example of what, this is also an example of what if analysis, just like the goal seek. What if? Then you click on scenario manager. So I'm just going to delete what I have here, and you have to add. You have to click add, and it's going to ask you what you want to do. I want to create a best case scenario for this investment, and it's going to say what cells do you want to change. I'm going to say, okay, let's assume I want to change the bank loan or the interest or the years. Now I'm going to click OK, and it's going to give me the opportunity to change it. So now the bank loan is 500,000. What if the interest should drop to 2%, right? And the number of years I'm going to use to pay back is now 15 instead of 20. And I click OK. So I've created a best case. I'm going to create a worst case and say, okay, this is the worst thing that can happen, worst case. And it's going to select that range again by default, and I'm going to click OK. So now, what if interest rate goes up to 8%? And I still have to pay back in 20 years. I'm going to click OK. So now we have best and worst case. The next thing we have to do is summary. We want a summary of this, and it could take the monthly payment and total payment automatically, or you could say, okay, what I want to know is my monthly payment and the total amount I'm going to pay. That's what I want to know for the best and worst case scenario. So you have to go and select these two. The moment you click OK, it's going to take you to a different worksheet. And on that worksheet, you can delete the first column there. And now we have our bank loan, interest, and years. We have the best case, we have the worst case, and we have the monthly pay as well as total payment. So for best case, if we have 500,000, we borrow 500,000 from the bank. The interest rate is 2%, and we have to pay back in 15 years. Every month we'll be paying 3,200, and the total amount we're going to pay is 579,157.83. It means we borrow 500,000, and the interest the bank is going to take on that is 79,157, which is okay. But when you check our worst case scenario, when interest rate goes up, then we're going to be paying 4,182 every month, and we're going to pay more than double the amount that we borrowed from the bank. So this is how best and worst case scenario works. And you can use it to determine what credit card is good for you. Maybe you have credit card from CIBC, credit card from TD. You can do a what if analysis to know the difference between your credit cards, right? So you can say, okay, one is with interest rate, and I'm getting 8,000 or 10,000 from TD. I'm getting 10,000 from CIBC, and CIBC is offering me 5.75, but TD is offering me 4.78. What would be the difference? So this is going to help you determine the difference. So now, if you look at the instructions, we have fulfilled all that is required on there. So I hope all this is going to help you, because you're going to get similar questions in your exam. I wish you the very best. So take care, everyone, and see you all next week. Bye for now.